hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, hit that like, comment, and share button.
Winning stock but a losing portfolio. Winning stocks but a losing portfolio. When people hear this, they're going to say, man, what is this guy talking about? What does he have pulled up in front of us? How does this even make sense? But by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about and exactly how it makes sense to investors and what is investors amnesia and how do you have a winning stocks with a losing portfolio? It's only one way to figure out. Let's stay tuned and figure out what is winning stocks with a losing portfolio.
Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, hit that like, comment, and share button.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you are now tuned into the Investor Show. As always, this is your gracious host, the Prince of Investing, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys and girls live all the way from the beautiful city and state of Denver, Colorado. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share button. And as always, I don't have a lot of time, and I definitely know you guys and girls don't have a lot of time, so we're going to jump straight into it. So today's topic, we're going to talk about a winning stock, having winning stocks but a losing portfolio. What does that mean? So what are winning stocks? This is when people who have winning stocks, right? These are people when the investors catch amnesia. They DM you all the time. They text you all the time. They say, "Hey Prince, I got that NIL stock," or "I purchased Uber and it done great. I purchased Apple and it did good, and Google and Facebook and all the other great stuff." Right? They love to tell you about the winners, but they suddenly always forget about the losers. Right? Take me for example. My last losing trade was Zoom, and I came on here and I told everybody when I brought Zoom because I was looking at their retained earnings. But I said they're going to benefit from us being in this pandemic. But as Zoom went away, I learned that, hey, you know what? I need to get out of here. Long story short, the biggest thing is most people that are investing don't even know what the benchmark is. This is like taking a test and the teacher gives you a test and they just say, hey, take the test. How do you know if you passed? How do you know if you failed? How do you know if you get better or whatever, right? Usually the teacher gives you a benchmark. They say, hey, you must make a 70. You must make a 80. You must make a 90 in order to pass. The thing is with investing, people got portfolios, but they don't even know what the benchmark is. And if they don't know what the benchmark is, they're investing, their whole portfolio could be down because all the time they look at, oh man, I made some money today. Uber went up. Man, I made some money today, man. I invested into Pfizer. It's coming out with a vaccination. Now you got the other company that's taking over. Oh, look, I made some money here. Prince, I invested some money into this solar company. I'm making money. Great. But what they forget to tell you is they never tell you the downside. What about those losers in your portfolio? What about those penny stocks you brought? What about those companies that didn't pan out? Those little crap companies or electronic vehicle companies or whatever the case may be that didn't pan out. So you're so zoomed in on how one or two stocks are performing, but how's your overall portfolio performing? And if your overall portfolio, how is it performing and how does it compare to the benchmark? What is the benchmark? Right in here in front of your face, I have on E-Trade where I pulled up the benchmark of finance, which is the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones. Right now I have the Dow Jones pulled up. Let me put the S&P 500 up here too. Boom. Right here, this is the S&P 500. I'm comparing my portfolio to the S&P 500. Over the last 3 years, my portfolio is going up 41%. S&P 500 has gone up 39%. Okay, I have outperformed the benchmark. Let's look at the 2-year portfolio. The 2-year portfolio, S&P 500 is going up 31% in the last 2 years. My overall portfolio is going up 38%. Okay, that's not bad. Let's look at the 1-year portfolio. 1 year, S&P 500 has returned 14%. My portfolio has done 16%. Not bad. Let's look at year to date. So far this year, S&P 500 has done 10%. My portfolio has done 12%. Not bad. Now I know this because I can look at my portfolio overall performance and compare it to the S&P 500, which is the benchmark. The thing about it is, the reason why I'm making this episode is that people's when they build a uh, when they build a portfolio, they go out and buy Tesla, Amazon, Microsoft, and they may have. I seen one guy that last portfolio I looked at, he had about 30 different stocks inside of his portfolio. 30 or 40 of different stocks. I mean, all over the place. I mean, he had large cap, small cap, medium cap, international. He had leverage ETFs on the bullish side, leverage ETFs on the bearish side, all that good stuff. But when I looked at that portfolio so far this year, I just told you, so far this year to date, the S&P 500 is up 10%. This guy's portfolio was down 11%. The S&P 500, just somebody who just bought an S&P 500 index fund, SWPPX, they would have outperformed his whole portfolio of 40 something stocks. Pretty smart guy, but he was too smart to have a winning portfolio. So often people love to look at, oh, look at this one stock. I got Apple, it's doing good. Woohoo! I got NIO, had a great year. Cool. I had an energy stock, it did great. Cool. But what is your overall portfolio doing? And it is your overall portfolio beating the benchmark. The benchmark, my passing score at the end of the year, when the end of the year is over, I'm going to compare my portfolio to the S&P 500 index. The S&P 500 index, here we are as of November 15th or 16th, November 16th, as of November 16th, 2020, the S&P 500, which a crazy year has been, is up 10%. Is your portfolio so far this year up 10%? That's a yes or no question. I don't want to hear about how one stock performed and how one stock went down and whatever the case may be. I know some people who trade options, they go out and be like, Prince, I made 80%, 200%, 300% on options. Yes, that's one trade, but what they don't tell you about the other five trades that they got wiped clean throughout the year. So with all that option trading that you did, with all that in and out trading that you did, compared to the S&P 500 index, are you beating that or not? That is how you grade your portfolio. So the thing about now, that's not the only way. There are way more technical things that you can do, but this is just a simple benchmark way to say, hey, all that people I know people who've been trading Tesla all year long, who's buying call and put options all year long, and they love to tell me about how their call is doing, how their put is doing, how they're so smart about how they picked all these things. And when they get it all done, and they compare it to the S&P 500, you will realize, one a good friend of mine, he started off with $100,000 this year trading option trades on Tesla. Overnight, one day he made 10,000, another day he made 5,000, another day he made 20, and he made sure he told me those days. But at the end of the year, I said, "Hey, so you started the year with $100,000. How much money do you have now?" He said, "Be honest with you, Prince, I got 20 grand." So essentially, you have lost 80% of your money. I said, if you just took that 100 grand and put it inside the S&P 500, you'd have been up 10%, even with the craziest year that we've had so far. Crazy 2020, he still underperformed by 90%. You guys and girls get what I'm saying? Everybody will call you and tell you about the option trade, about the one that hit. We have investor amnesia. I'm guilty. I did the same thing. I don't. I forget about that little penny stock and this stock that lost and whatever. But after all that trading, all that up and down that you did all year long, how does it compare to the benchmark of the S&P 500? 95% of investors will not beat the S&P 500. That's your thing. That's what you need to be tagging to. That's the thing you need to be paying attention to. And let me see what you guys are saying here. Mo, what's going on, Mo? That's my guy right there, Josh Ford. He said dropping gems anytime, anytime. Lucky's mom, thank you for the valuable information. She's out there in Jacksonville, Florida. Think about it, Lucky's mom. Yes, your Southwest Airlines is doing great. I know you say you had Johnson& and Johnson, but when you add all of that moves up, some people got 30, 40, 50, 100 portfolios. 100 stocks in their portfolio. Once you add all that together, strolled all the way to the top, I want you to look at the top of your portfolio and see the overall performance and compare that overall performance in the same time period. What has the S&P 500 did? Yes, you will beat it for a week. You probably beat it for a month. might even get lucky for a year. But to beat it 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a row is practically impossible with looking at the numbers. Not saying that it's impossible, but 95% of investors won't do it. Compare it. Don't forget about it. Don't get lazy. Max B, my guy, SWPPX. He said it's the way to go. SWPPX, that is the Charles Schwab S&P 500. So if you got SWPPX, so look at my guy Max B. He got SWPPX in January, and I got a buddy, very smart guy. He had about 40 stocks in his portfolio, and his stock portfolio is down 11% overall. S&P 500 is up 10% so far this year. Now here we are, middle of COVID pandemic, all this stuff going on. The portfolio is up 10. S&P 500, which is the top 50 companies in America, is up 10%. But people won't tell you that. They'll sit back. They'll tell you about, man, look at I had this option trade. And, ooh, look at my Southwest Airlines. It's doing good. But what good is that if Southwest Airlines, it's like having a diet. I go up here and I drink a smoothie in the morning, but at night I go eat 5 cheeseburgers, right? Yes, your Southwest airline did good, but then again, you look at the downside of your other penny stock went down 100%. People forget about that. So that's what I mean by having winning stocks but a losing portfolio. How do you know your portfolio is winning or losing? You got to compare it to the benchmark. 80% of investors don't even know what the benchmark is. Compare it. If you got E Trade, if you got a investor, if you got somebody that's managing your portfolio, or whatever the case may be, look at your entire portfolio. How is your portfolio doing this year? How does your portfolio do over the last 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever the case may be? Right? So ask yourself this question. Yes, I'm doing good so far this year. That's cool. Well, let's see how they perform over the last year. Right? Excuse me. How they perform over the last year? What about the last 2 years? What about the last 3 years? That's when you start to look and say, you know what? I'm doing pretty good or I'm not doing bad. Brandon, what's going on? Brandon Wilson said I'm up 15% this year. So far this year, that's good. The S&P 500 is up 10%. You up 15%. That is good, right? But you know what to look for. Don't get so caught up in y'all excuse me there, having a winning stock here or there that you forget you overlook the overall portfolio. That's why people who have 100, 30, 40, 50 stocks inside of their portfolio and the whole portfolio is just losing like crazy. Portfolio is down 20%, but they're telling me about that one stock they got. Ooh, mouth's getting a little dry. But anyway, boys and girls and children of all ages, I want to tell you guys and girls, don't sit back and worry about having a winning stocks but a losing portfolio. Look at that overall portfolio. I log in, I look at my overall portfolio. How is my portfolio performing against the entire market? Right? And if my portfolio is underperforming the market, then I know I need to move more closer to the market. For prime example, if the market is up 10%, but I'm down 10%, maybe I need to sell some of my stocks and get closer to the index. If you can't beat it, join it. Type in the comments. If you can't beat it, join it. But anyway, boys and girls and children of all ages, I got to get out of here. I just want y'all to think about that. Always look at your whole portfolio. And here we go here. Let me see. He said, I did mine today. I'm beating the Dow Jones, and I'm tied with the S&P 500. So think about it, Max B. All that trading you're doing, all that good stuff like that, if you are beating the Dow Jones, good. But if you're tied with the S&P 500, maybe you might want to move closer to the S&P 500, right? I only trade lead options. Daddy Johnson said he only trade lead options long term. Okay. Well, lead options are long term option trades, which is not bad. You can put them on the index. But the whole point, when you're looking at your portfolio out there, ladies and gentlemen, don't get so caught up with a stock. If you're underperforming the portfolio, you are failing the test. You would have did better off with all that trading that you did, Max B. If you would have just brought SWPPX and forgot about everything else, you would have probably been better off. All right. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's my time. Until the next video, podcast, cartoon, or whatever else crazy you see me do, crazy around the globe. Peace. Be safe. I'm out. And thank you.